Welcome to Jimmy D and the Wolf Podcast. Here we go.
That's what I hear every time, man. I can't help it. My childhood of watching really inexpensively made kung fu movies just comes screaming back to me every time I hear the bell ring. We got to do a podcast just on like the music that was in some of those.
Sure.
Some of that stuff was great.
You know, I mean, there's gold there. I mean, Quentin Tarantino has made, as far as movie making,
like the spaghetti western music.
Yeah. Spaghetti western.
Some of that stuff is cool.
Morricone.
Yeah, I like the instrumental stuff.
Ennio Morricone. Do you know that? Maybe you know this, but da 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 da. What's the Good, Bad, and the Ugly? Mm-hmm. The theme song or the motif.
Are you talking about the
Good, Bad, the Ugly?
Like
spaghetti western. The good.
I got the wrong song on my head.
That's it. Yeah, Good, the Bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know that the theme song, Good, Bad, the Ugly, Ennio Morricone is the composer. For all of those, Sergio Leone was the director, and on that theme song, one thing you may not know, there's three characters, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Clint Eastwood was the good. Eli Wallach, I think, was the ugly, or was he the bad? He was either the bad or the ugly. And then the other guy, wearing the black, was the other character. When each one of them, there was a different instrument doing that motif for each person if they were present on deal. It was done with the whistle. It was done by voices. Their voices, I don't know if they're female or male, but it's voices doing it for one of the characters, and there's another instrument doing it for wah wah wah. That's it. What instrument is that? So there's the whistle.
I don't know.
There's the
I remember that.
And then there's
wah, wah, wah.
That's an instrument, and then there's people doing it. So voices.
Was it like a gut bucket horn or something? Was it like a trumpet with the plunger over it? Maybe.
You want to take a break and Google it so we can be talking yells on it? Is that legal for a podcast?
We're not allowed to do that, Tim.
We're not?
We don't edit. Hey, by the way, we don't edit anything.
Okay, well,
this is all real time
stuff. All right, okay, we're establishing the rules as we go. We're still early on, so we gotta stay
We're gonna
true.
say it was a trumpet with the plunger on the end of it.
It could have been, but I know three different instruments. There's the whistle, and then there's that wah wah, or maybe, and then there's another instrument. So there's three different instruments, one for each one of those characters, whether they're being featured in that particular segment of the film. Yeah, that's some deep stuff, I mean...
It's interesting. That music paints a picture.
A lot of baritone guitars. I've been wanting a baritone guitar. I still want one because, if you're going to do spaghetti western music, you got to have a baritone guitar.
And a lot of times you barely notice it in the mix of something, but it makes it really, really big. I hear that in a lot of contemporary country, too.
Baritone guitar?
A lot of baritone guitar, yeah. Yeah, Danolectro makes a great Barry guitar you can get for like $200 or $300, I think.
Really? Danolectro. I think I played a Danolectro once, and I've been scarred ever since.
They're made of plywood, I think.
Yeah.
I played a few good ones.
Have you?
If they got some good pickups in them, the lipstick pickups, they're not like the old ones. A friend of mine has the old Dano for like 67 or 68, whenever it came with the amp. And it sounds great. Like the case unfolds.
Yeah.
You open the case.
Yeah, and it has an amp in it.
There's like a Sears tube amp in there.
Yeah. Was that Dano? I know some companies.
Sears or Dano.
It was crazy times in the 60s.
Yeah, but
you got the Japanese imports with 5 million switches and knobs on them.
Dude, I have a guitar. We were talking about that Greco guitar that I had. There's switches on there. I have absolutely no idea what they do. And in fact, there's a couple of them, like you move it and it doesn't change the sound no matter what pickup you're on. It's like, is this a trick or what? It has like two knobs here, or two rotary knobs here, 3 switches, the 4 like volume, tone, and then a pickup selector, and then another 3-way knob. It's like there's no scenario where you would ever need that many knobs for anything.
You know, it's kind of like the 60s for electric guitars was kind of like the wild west.
It absolutely was.
There was so many things going on, and it was kind of like the early days of automotive. You know, there used to be a lot more car companies, right? In fact, you know, I mean, there's Studebaker. Then they all got just one that comes to mind. And then what was the one they made the movie about, where they were still finishing the car before. One of my favorite actors played it on it. Jeff Bridges played the part. This some years ago. It was an actual guy who did a lot of innovation. You know, it'll come to me.
It wasn't Dodge, was it?
No. So there were a lot of makers of cars early on before they all got bought up and
Well, the
consolidated.
Fender thing, Fender actually modeled a lot of their colors after cars. Yeah, they were getting pretty crazy with it, especially Gibson, man. You look at Gibson, what they were doing in the late 50s. I've read stories about the
Moderne and the Explorer, and they were just trying to keep up with Fender, based on what I heard.
Well, I think they were just rinsing out their artistic brushes, man, because that stuff was light years ahead.
Yeah, there were 3 of them. There was the Moderne. The Moderne is the holy grail, right? Because
nobody knows if they even made one for sure.
The Explorer, the Explorer, and the Flying V,
and the Carina
third one is the Moderne.
And the Carina wood ones, they said that they couldn't. The distributors couldn't even get music stores to buy them, and that there were music store owners hanging them outside on their signs. I've read that. And that's one of the reasons why they're worth so much money is not only did they only make a few of them, the ones that they did make, nobody wanted them. I mean, who's going to play an Explorer in like 57 or 58 or whatever?
Well, a Stratocaster was radical.
Sure.
I mean, Buddy Holly was really one of the first actual Stratocaster adopters. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so.
You know, he was in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
And he was probably one of the first actual Stratocaster.
It was supposed to be a country guitar, which is interesting that the Telecaster is still king of country music.
And Stratocaster is
the Stratocaster was supposed to be an improvement on the Telecaster, which is fascinating to me. But, I mean, as far as functionality, there's no question that the Stratocaster, still to this day, I mean...
It's the number one selling guitar in the world.
And most guitars that aren't Stratocasters, unless they're Gibsons, they're somehow or another kind of modeled after a Strat. There's been whole companies, you know, Jackson Guitars, Ibanez, they're just making...
Yes.
They're just making
Well,
Strats.
one line of Strat. I mean, Ibanez also makes some great art core.
Yeah, their hollow bodies are
hollow
incredible.
Bodies.
And inexpensive. But yeah, I mean, the functionality of a Stratocaster. But you can't help but wonder, like, if Hendrix would have played a Gretsch, would we all be playing Gretsch guitars? Like, how big was that influence? Say, hypothetically, Hendrix played a White Falcon. Does that mean Clapton runs out and buys a White Falcon, and Jeff Beck runs out and buys a White Falcon, and Stevie Ray Vaughan plays a White Falcon? I mean, I wonder about that kind of stuff because I'm sure he had a huge impact on it.
Oh, he blew everybody away.
And why did he play a Strat, you know? Was it because Buddy Guy played one? Who knows? Was it because his hero played one, or was it really because of functionality? There at the end, he moved more towards a Gibson Flying V.
Yeah, he played a Flying V at Woodstock.
Not Woodstock. He played the White Strat at Woodstock. He played the V at the Isle of Wight.
Right, you're correct. I'm wrong.
Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight. Because I had all those and watched all those.
And his Gibson tone was incredible. Like there in the Cry of Love album when he was doing Isabella and Freedom and all that stuff, his tone was great. Makes me wonder, man. You know, should it all been done on it?
Well, it's interesting. Oh, okay, you know, blues people, there wasn't it you that were telling me you had a friend, or maybe it's someone else was saying that they have a friend who's saying Joe Bonamassa is the best guitar player ever in the history of the world. Was that your... No, I think that's another friend of mine says
I've
he has
heard
a friend
people say it. I've heard it said.
Which I do not believe. I do not accept. I am not one of those. I mean, Joe's good, but...
He's a monster guitar player.
But he's not... Does he do anything that hasn't been done before? I mean, is he innovative?
No, to me, he's like an amalgamation of like a really great blues guitar player with tons of facility that studied Eric Johnson's stuff. Because you can hear Eric Johnson come out of him sometimes. And he's great, and he's probably like the torchbearer right now. But when I listen to his solos, I don't know, man. It's like, and maybe it's sour grapes to me because I can't play like Joe Bonamassa. But
yeah, I definitely can't
when I listen
either.
like
And maybe that's my thing
a
too.
Derek Trucks guitar solo, or a Clapton solo, or Hendrix, or Warren Haynes, or those guys.
Heck, even John Mayer.
Even John Mayer's brilliant, and those guys, they have these really conversational,
Absolutely, yeah.
solos where they're like, "Hey, my name's John Mayer." You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Nice to meet you. Come on in, have a seat. And then next thing you know, they're just like going crazy, and they have an out. There's a climax to the story, and they have an out. And when I listen to Bonamassa, and again, it may be sour grapes because I can't play like Joe Bonamassa, but when I listen to him, it's just like that thing where it's always wide open. It's always wide open. And I like equivocate it to going to see Yngwie Malmsteen in concert when I was younger. First song, I was just like, whoa, I've never seen a human being play guitar like this before. This is incredible. This is going to be the greatest show I've ever seen. Second song, it's like, yeah, this is really good. Third song, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting bored of hearing this guy play. I'm getting bored of hearing this guy play a gazillion notes, a gazillion miles a minute. And, everybody has their preference.
It's like, what's that band, Dragon Force? Who's a guitar player in Dragon Force?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about.
Asian
I've
guy.
heard them.
Last name, Lou is his last name. Man, he can shred. Do I have the right band? The right
I think so.
band?
Dragon Force has all the like sweep arpeggios and stuff.
Yep, yeah.
And that stuff's amazing. I'm not taking anything away from them musically because they are incredible musicians, and Bonamassa is absolutely monster musician.
No doubt about it.
But for my preference to listen to somebody, I just like to hear players that play a little more vocally than that, I'd rather hear Muddy Waters just sludge his way through a guitar solo with a slide on than...
Or even John Lee Hooker.
Right.
John Lee Hooker had he was a primitive guitar player.
Yeah. And cats don't play like that anymore. Nobody plays like that anymore.
I mean, John Lee Hooker, of course he... But man, he just reached into your soul and grabbed you.
It's groove, man.
Anyway,
anytime you can play a whole song without a chord change, you're on a whole nother level, man. And those John Lee Hooker songs, like I've heard whole albums where it's like, I don't think he ever even went to the 4. It's like you see a chart of a John Lee Hooker session 1, 1,
but exactly the Nashville chart.
1. It's like, for real, this guy's going to do this? Oh, wait until you hear him. Yeah, he's going to do it. And it's going to be incredible.
Anyway, what got me talking about Joe Bonamassa is that he was a Strat player just like every other, other blues player.
Sure.
Strat. And I remember reading an article, he said, I wanted to do something different. And I was, a period of time, I was a huge Bonamassa fan, had all his albums and would get it as soon as it came out. And... Blues Deluxe, that era. When was that? Like aughts, 2007, 2008, in that area. Yeah. And I have bought an album since probably about 2012. But he switched over to a Les Paul because he wanted to be different. I don't know if he's still playing mainly Les Pauls.
I think he's playing Gibsons.
Is he?
It's a brilliant Les Paul tone.
Oh, yeah. There's his tone, his playing, nothing, right. Unbelievable, otherworldly, no doubt about it. But I think we're talking about the musical
It's almost that thing of like you wish you could turn it off sometimes.
Yeah, have more variability. Tell a story.
Yeah,
pull us in. Anyway, like B.B. King would say, I think it's attributed to him. I'd rather than playing a 1,000 notes to say one thing, I'd rather play one note and say 1,000 things. I'm bastardizing that quote, something like that. It goes.
It's a good one if you bastardize it. Makes sense.
So, anyway, yeah, he switched from, because basically for a time there, ever since Stevie Ray Vaughan was around and then died, at the peak, he was just getting going. He'd just gotten clean. And he was playing otherworldly. Who knows? God only knows what Stevie Ray Vaughan would have brought this world if he hadn't died.
He got in a pretty special place on that last album.
Yeah, and And then family style, maybe he and Jimmy would have done more stuff together. Anyway, every blues guitar player played a Strat. Everybody played a Strat because, Buddy Guy played a Strat if you go way back. Jimi Hendrix played a Strat. It was really more blues rock. Stevie Ray played a Strat. Clapton played a Strat. It was all Strat. If you're going to be blues, you're Strat. Kenny Wayne Shepherd played a Strat. And so I think Joe Bonamassa said, well, I want to be different in some way. I'm going to play a Les Paul.
Yeah.
And
but the old cats, there's more of those guys playing Gibsons. I think that was the model, like before
the archtop, yeah,
before,
the archtop hollow body
before
archtop,
Hendrix,
yeah.
or even in Buddy's younger days, like the model was Gibson guitars and Fender amps, like BB. I don't think BB always used Fenders, but Albert King,
Freddie King. No, Albert is a Flying V, at least at the end.
Flying V, yeah. Albert played was Flying V. Freddie played a 335 or 345.
Freddie, played a archtop, yeah. Well, you go back, T-Bone Walker played an archtop Gibson, didn't he?
Brilliant guitar player.
Yeah. That was more of that style back then, and then the Strat came along. And what did Magic Sam play primarily? He played a archtop.
I think he played some kind of, the videos I've seen of him, it was some kind of knockoff Gibson, or maybe a real Gibson.
I know Johnny Lang. Johnny Lang and Kenny Wayne Shepherd came out about the same time in the late 90s.
Yeah, and Johnny Lang
what did Johnny Lang play?
Telecasters.
Telecasters.
But they're Telecasters with humbuckers. He's got a great tone too, man.
Oh, and a great voice.
You know?
Yeah, I love Johnny
Lang. His own thing.
He's from North Dakota, which is just one state away from South Dakota, where I'm from. So.
Definitely does his own thing. He hasn't been like a blues clone to anybody. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
He's certainly took chances and kind of walked his own path. Not to shortchange anybody else, but I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Yeah, he went gospel. He became a Christian, and I kind of lost track of him since, but he won a Grammy for a gospel album.
I didn't know that.
In like 2010-ish, 11-ish, roughly. And I haven't followed him since. I did see him live at the Jazz Fest in South Dakota before I moved to Nashville. It was maybe 2016 or 17. He was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he's a great performer. I saw him in Cincinnati years ago, and he was incredible live.
Yeah.
Total package, man. Songwriter, singer,
amazing
guitar
vocals.
player.
Yeah. There's a total package, yeah. Whereas Kenny Wayne Shepherd is still there, and he doesn't even sing or write, I don't think. His biggest hit, Blue to Black, he didn't write that. Really? It was written by somebody else. Well, at the beginning, Johnny Lang didn't write either. He didn't write Lie to Me. That was written by Bruce from Minneapolis. I can't think of his last name. It'll come to me. He wrote Lie to Me. He and I think someone else. Who was a keyboard player for who do we listen to when we wrote Born in South Dakota?
Bernard Allison.
He was playing with Bernard Allison before Bernard Allison moved to. He's living in Paris now, or Europe. Did you know that? He's living in Europe.
I didn't know
Bernard Allison moved to Europe. What does that say about the live music scene? A guy like that.
Well, what always perplexes me, you never hear blues on the radio. It's rare. You can drive across the country, and it's super duper rare that you'll stumble into a blues station. But for whatever reason, there's blues festivals all over the place, crawling with people dying to hear blues.
Yes.
And there's a huge disconnect there in my mind that I don't understand. And most people that I talk to love the blues.
Well, like my good friend Randy, my banker when I was in South Dakota. He said, yeah, I like the blues for maybe one or two songs. And then it gets repetitive. The form is 12-bar blues. I mean, blues is broad and wide, but as practiced, it can be quite narrow and repetitive.
I think it's all in how they do it, man. I mean, there's been lots of great blues that it seems like every time it leaks out, they make sure they call it something else as soon as possible.
That ain't pure blues.
Yeah, that's not blues.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, look at Cream. Yeah. They just turn the amps up and play blues. We better call that something else as soon as we possibly can. Just
psychedelic rock.
Just to make sure the blues doesn't get any credit for it. Well, it is, man. It happens all the time. I mean, there's no mystery. What was, the Stones were listening to, and the
Absolutely.
Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
Zeppelin, those bands, Sabbath. I mean, you could argue that even heavy metal was a subgenre of the blues.
Sure.
It's fascinating.
Well, I mean, the early, and then the classical,
right?
Guys
the neoclassical
stuff
took hold.
Yeah.
But it is a legitimate question that needs to be asked more. Like, why isn't there more of a vehicle for blues music if these festivals are so successful? And these artists that are incredible blues artists, like Bernard Allison, why did he have to move to Europe? He's amazing, dude. He's a real thing.
Oh, yeah. I saw him at a little club in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And he came in, he's wearing sweats, kind of dressed like a little bit of a gangster, Adidas sweats, and, comes in.
Blues gangster.
Blues gangster.
It's the most gangster of all, man.
And, his band was a kick-butt band. They could barely fit on the stage. I mean, it was a tiny little club, His dad, what was his dad's name?
Luther.
Yeah, Luther Ellison, yeah.
He was amazing, too.
Amazing. Well, he was a Chicago blues guy, wasn't he? And, but you got to peek out. I think in Europe, in fact, I can't wait to go tour Europe. I mean, the song,
we have a whole different appreciation.
Yeah, they love live music. Germany, the song we wrote together, Castle Built of Cards, that I released October 25th. It's got over 1,000 spins. 1,000's a lot for me,
In Germany.
In Germany, yeah.
Well, it's that thing. It's like, as Americans, it's easy for us to take music and culture in general for granted because we're inundated with music and culture. We have options. Here we have options to everything. It's where every culture comes together. Music, it's been so devalued because you can push a button and hear whatever. I mean, we're in Nashville right now. I would venture to say if we spent 20 minutes driving around, we could probably hear anything we want to hear in town, live, by guys that can do it as well as anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
But you go to Europe, where's a good jazz band playing tonight or a good country band? I mean, how many cities in Europe? Could you go to Prague and be like, I want to hear some real Chicago blues tonight? I doubt it. Maybe you can. I don't know. I've never been to Prague, but I would think that that's not happening in Prague tonight. And if it is, I guarantee you couldn't drive 5 minutes and hear some country or some singer-songwriter stuff. And we're just spoiled as Americans culturally, We have access to so much that we take it for granted.
And live, it's hard. I mean, live clubs, I remember playing at a live thing in Sioux Falls, not a live thing, open mic thing, and a bass player. It was an event, there were a number of bands there. I don't remember, I think it was a bunch of bands were playing. And the bass player sat down that had been playing with one of the bands and started talking, and he was in his 60s. This was probably 10, 15 years ago, and he had grown up in Duluth, Minnesota, and he was talking about what it was like to play in bands in the 60s. He said that if you had a club back then, you needed to have a live band.
Sure.
And if you didn't have a live band, nobody's going to come.
Right.
And club owners would go to music stores and beg people to form a band so they could come and play in their club. Is it a little bit different today?
A little bit, because the young people that are staring at their phones the whole time they're there aren't necessarily relying on a band to entertain them. And if they want music, then there's a DJ down the street that will come
100%,
do it.
So many variations.
For $100.
And don't even get me, okay, I'm probably going to show my whatever, but the whole DJ thing, people make big money being a DJ. And a lot of them don't even do anything but hit play.
I know.
And they're not creating music. Don't get me started.
I know. That's where the river meets the road for me, too. I bit a guy's head off one night because he's like, where are you playing at Friday? I said, I'm over at this gig, and he's a DJ. Well, I'm playing at this place. I said, what are you playing? The CD player? What are you playing? Come on, dude. And a little bit of my ego kicked in. It's like, we are not the same. You know what I mean? I hate to be like that. But you're going to play the play button?
Hey, but they are valued.
Sure.
They get paid a lot of money.
Absolutely, you know, and it's not anything against that music. I do like listening to a lot.
Well,
like,
and
trap
they, in their
music and
defense,
stuff,
they say a good DJ reads the crowd and changes up his set. But there are DJs who just hit play.
right.
And they're up there pushing buttons that don't do anything.
They're playing covers and whatnot.
Well, it's all covers. I mean, they're playing music that's been pre-recorded, and it's on a playlist, and they're up there hitting buttons that aren't doing anything. Am I right?
No, you're right.
Am I wrong? Now, there are DJs that are really good and change the thing up and read the crowd and do things differently. Anyway, if I'm wrong and you violently disagree with me, you know, comment below. This is going to be on YouTube. And, you know, give us comments below. Let us know what you think.
We will argue with you until we will argue with you until the end of time. Totally kidding. If you're wondering why I'm rubbing my forearm, I strained it. I probably look like a weirdo. I've been sitting over here the whole time. I was like, ow.
How'd you strain your forearm, buddy?
Fireman's carries at the gym. 100 pounds both sides. It was too much. I shouldn't have done it.
Fireman's carry?
Yeah, where you grab the dumbbells and you take off walking with the dumbbells.
I thought they call that
Farmer's carry. I reverted back to wrestling.
Fireman's carry. That was a move in wrestling. Yeah, I remember that move. Right. That was one of my favorite moves.
Yeah, fireman's carry. Some DJ did a fireman's carry to me after my salty comment. And I'm laying on my forearm. Sorry, DJs. We love you guys. Yeah, man.
What do we got for time?
I think that's it for us.
All right. This is Jimmy D and the Wolf. We'll see you next time.
Till next time. Peace.